And we are back. Welcome to the final European prediction video of the week. And it's time for my predictions for the Europa League match day 5. Now, if you have missed either of the two videos we have already posted for tonight's Champions League matches and today and tomorrow's Europa Conference League matches, both of those videos will be available for you at the top of the screen. And after last night, we have actually done pretty well with 7 out of 9 in the Champions League last night. The only two letting me down, both the English clubs. But we're not here to talk about Champions League today. We're here to talk about the Europa League and all 18 matches taking place tomorrow. So before we get into it, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video if you do enjoy all of my prediction series. And if you're new around here, please do consider subscribing to the channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any of the prediction content we've got coming up for you. We have got our next round of Premier League predictions coming up for you on Friday. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on that. And without any further ado, let's skip ahead to the prediction screen for today, where you will see that after match day 4 in the Europa League, we are on 40 correct result out of 72. Not quite as good as the Champions League after match day 4, but we do have more correct scores in the Europa League compared to the Champions League with 7. So without any further ado, we have got 8 matches kicking off early on Thursday with 10 matches kicking off later. So let's get into it right now. The first match to take place this Thursday is Anderlecht in 5th place, undefeated Anderlecht, taking on 22nd place Porto, who themselves have only got 4 points. Not only that, in their last 2 matches, Anderlecht have won 5-0 and 6-0 against both the Europa Conference League sides in Belgium, in Ghent and Cercle Brugge. So, really impressive run of form for Anderlecht. Not only that, there is a mounting injury crisis going on at Porto, which has meant that they have lost all of their last 3 matches, which does include losing to Lazio on match day 4, and then Benfica and Moreirense in the Liga Portugal at the weekend. All of them away from home, but obviously they are away to Anderlecht here. Yes, Anderlecht did drop points in their last match in this competition to RFS, but with them being back at home, I would expect them to get the win here. I am going for a 3-1 victory to the Belgians over the Portuguese. Next up, it is Athletic Bilbao taking on Elfsborg. Like game 1, this is a home team that are on 10 points, taking on an away team that are on 4 points. For Bilbao, they are unbeaten in all of their last 7 matches in all competitions, and finally have everyone available to them. They've obviously been missing some of the Williams brothers and Unai Simon in their previous match days, but they are all fit and available to go here. To be fair, Elfsborg are also unbeaten in all of their last 4, and have performed well against what I would consider pretty tough opposition so far in this Europa League. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't think Atletico Bilbao are going to run away with this, but I would still expect them to get the victory. I'm going for a 2-1 victory to the Spanish side. On to what I consider the first of the actual difficult ones to predict here. It is now AZ Alkmaar taking on Galatasaray, and it is yet another team on 10 points. This time it is the away side, Galatasaray, and they're travelling to an AZ Alkmaar side that currently sit on 6 points in the Europa League. AZ on match day 4 were winners at home to Turkish oppositions in Fenerbache. Meanwhile, Galatasaray were absolutely blowing away Tottenham back in Turkey. To be fair, they've also won all of their last 7 and are 5 points clear of the side that AZ beat on match day 4. They do have Icardi now out for the rest of the season. He's picked up a serious injury, but he is the only absentee for Galatasaray going into this one, whereas AZ do have a fair few injury concerns coming into this. All 3 results, I think, are possible for this one. As we said, this is the first genuine tough one to call. But in my head, even though they beat Turkish opposition last time out, I've still got to consider Galatasaray the favourites for this one. I am going for a 3-2 victory to the visitors in this one. Keeping things Turkish, it's now time for Besiktas and Maccabi Tel Aviv. Besiktas are in 18th place, whereas Maccabi are 35th, 1 place off the bottom, and are currently on 0 points from their opening 4 matches. Besiktas have won all of their last 3 match days against Lyon and against Malmo, whereas Maccabi got beat 5-0 by Ajax on match day 4. It is worth noting, though, going into this, that Besiktas have not won either match since Matchday 4, including losing 4-2 at home to Gaziantep. I can never say that one. The Turkish team beginning with G. Looks like Gertzer. At the weekend, but they still have enough here, in my opinion, to get the result against a side that has really been playing poorly so far. If someone lets me know why in the comment section this game is being played in Hungary rather than Turkey, please do let me know, because I genuinely don't know why this game is being played in Hungary. But it is, and I still expect Besiktas to get the win. I'm going for a 2-0 victory to the Turkish side. Next up, it is Dynamo Kiev taking on Viktoria Plzen. We've gone from the club sitting 35th in the table to the club in 36th. That is Dynamo Kiev, who have not only have no points, but they also have no goals so far. And they're coming up against the Plzen side that have got 6 points so far, but are actually unbeaten with 3 draws and then a victory over Real Sociedad, nonetheless, on Matchday 4. So they're going to be full of confidence going into this. Dynamo also have Dubinchak suspended for this one, but have, to be fair, been playing very well in their domestic league and are well clear of Champions League tie Shakhtar Donetsk. But they did lose 4-0 last time in this competition to Ferencvaros. So, for me, given the fact that Plzen are unbeaten, given the fact that Dynamo are pointless and goalless, I'm going to have to go for Victoria here. But I'm going to make it narrow. I'm just going to go for a 1-0 victory to the visitors in this one. From the bottom, we head all the way up to the top, where we find Lazio, who are the only side in the Europa League so far to win all 4 of their opening matches. They're coming up against the Ludogorets side, who sadly only have 1 point to their name and also have 2 players suspended for this one as well, with Rick and Chow both suspended, as well as having a fair few injuries going into this one as well. Lazio have won all of their last 7 matches in this competition, which includes in all competitions, which includes a 3-0 win over Champions League side Bologna this weekend coming. To be honest, there's not too much to say about this one. Lazio surely come away with the victory here. I'm just going to go for 3-0. It genuinely could be more. Next up, we have Qarabag in 29th place, taking on 9th place Lyon. However, after a very poor start to this Europa League, Qarabag have managed to pick up a victory in their last match away to Bodo Glimt, whereas Lyon have 4 draws in their last 5 matches in all competitions, albeit they've been unbeaten across those 5 matches, but their form has started to pull back a little bit over the last few weeks, and they did, of course, lose at home to Besiktas on Matchday 3. So they're not on the best run of form in this competition or domestically, and Qarabag have had a little bit of a mini resurgence coming into this. They're also unbeaten in their last 5, but have only conceded 1 goal in those 5 matches. So there's a lot going for Qarabag in this one. I think it's going to be a really, really close affair. No injuries or suspensions for either side coming into this one either. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, which might be a bit of a surprise. I think most people would expect the French side to come up on top here. But from what I saw of Qarabag in the last round and what recent form would suggest, they've definitely got at least a chance of getting a point from this one. Finally, in terms of the early kickoffs, we head back to Latvia because it is time for RFS to take on PAOK. And both of these sides have had poor starts, certainly in terms of points, when it comes to this Europa League. They are 32nd and 33rd respectively. RFS are on 2 points after drawing to Anderlecht, and PAOK are on just 1 point, and they also lost to fellow Europa League side Olympiacos a couple of weeks ago in the Greek League. So it's not been good running for PAOK so far. RFS, of course, have got their 2 points from their 2 home matches so far, 2 home draws, 2 away defeats. So they're definitely going to fancy their chances here. The only issue I have regarding RFS is they're one of the sides that's domestic season has already finished. So they've not actually kicked a ball since their Matchday 4 fixture. Whereas PAOK, even though they did lose on Matchday 4 and then lost to Olympiacos, bounced back with a win coming into this one. So I just think they're going to be the slight favourites for this. On paper, if you're just going player for player, PAOK should 100% win this match. But RFS have already proven themselves against tough opposition in this Europa League. I just think that with Latvia on its winter break, with PAOK having a much better away record than they do a home record in all competitions so far this season, I'm just going to edge it in their favour, which may upset a few fans watching. But I'm going for a 2-1 victory to the Greek side there. That concludes all 8 of the early kickoffs taking place on Thursday. Let's now look ahead to the remaining 10 kickoffs that take place a little bit later on. And the first of those is a pair of sides that are separated by just 1 point, exactly like the last fixture we just spoke about. It is now time for the Portuguese side Braga to take on Hoffenheim. Braga are on 4, Hoffenheim are on 5. But right now, Hoffenheim are in the midst of a bit of an injury crisis. They have a lot of first-team players unavailable to them. However, it didn't stop them getting a 4-3 victory over Champions League side RB Leipzig at the weekend. That said, Braga are on a very good run of form themselves, especially when they are at home, and they only have one player missing, which is Zalazar, who's been missing all season long. I just think with the injury problems going on at Hoffenheim, with their form being very flip-floppy, and they've not exactly performed so well in this Europa League so far, I think Braga have to be considered the favourites. Also, on the head-to-head, Braga have won the last 2 meetings between these sides as well. So there's just a lot of psychological things in favour of Braga as well. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to the home side, but genuinely could end up being a very close one to call. Speaking of close ones to call, we now talk about FCSB and Olympiacos, and the story of FCSB continues with them 3 wins out of 4 so far in this Europa League, seeing off Midtjylland 2-0 very convincingly on match day 4. That puts them on 9 points, whereas Olympiacos are on 7 and have only lost 1 game in their last 11 in all competitions. Now, the reason why I mention this is because one of those games that they went unbeaten in was against Rangers, where they drew to Rangers earlier on in this competition. The reason why that is important is because the one game that FCSB has lost so far in this Europa League was a 4-0 defeat to Rangers. So they lost 4-0 to Rangers in match day 3. Olympiacos drew 1-1 with Rangers on match day 4. That said, Olympiacos were at home, FCSB were away. And at home, FCSB are incredibly good. Their crowd plays a massive part in their home performances. But they still think that Olympiacos should be considered the favourites. That doesn't necessarily mean I think they're going to win. I just think they have to be considered the favourites for this, given the good run of form that they are on. That said, I'm still going to give FCSB the benefit of the doubt in regards to the fact I think they can get a result, but I'm not backing them to get the win. I'm going for a 1-1 draw. No, I'm not. I'm going for a 2-2 draw. I obviously forgot what the scoreline I went for there, but I'm going for a draw. I'm going for 2-2 for FCSB and Olympiacos. Speaking of FCSB, of course, we just mentioned that they won 2-0 last time out against FC Midtjylland, and that is who we are going to be talking about next. And they're taking on an Eintracht Frankfurt side that are playing some very, very good stuff at the moment. For Midtjylland, it's not been great for them. They won at the weekend, but that was their first win after 4 defeats in a row. To be fair, they have had a bit of an injury problem, have Midtjylland, but they are starting to get those players back into the side. Some of them did play at the weekend in their victory. But like I said, they're coming up against a Frankfurt side that are absolutely flying at the moment. They've won their last 5 games in a row. They're 7 games unbeaten. They're second in the Bundesliga behind Bayern Munich. So to ask Midtjylland to get a result here, I think is a very, very big ask. For me, this game is coming probably a week or 2 too soon as Midtjylland try and rebuild their form after their injury problems. So for me, this has got to be a victory for Eintracht Frankfurt, and I am going for a 3-1 victory to the side, second in Germany right now. Back to the difficult fixtures we go then, and it's time for FC Twente taking on Union Saint-Gilloise. Both of these sides come into this match off the back of 5-game unbeaten runs, including big results in their domestic leagues as well. FC Twente were able to get a draw against Ajax, who, as we'll talk about later, are on an incredible unbeaten run at the moment, whereas Union Saint-Gilloise were able to defeat Ghent 4-0 at the weekend. So they're coming into this with a lot of confidence as well. Both of these sides, though, do come into this game outside of even the playoffs. So even though they're on good unbeaten runs domestically and even in this competition, they do find themselves quite a long way down the table. And with us running out of fixtures already, both sides are going to need to start pulling off wins as and when they can. Coming into this, the Twente have Van Rouge or Van Roy suspended for this one, whereas Union don't have any suspensions, but they do have a few first-team players injured coming into this one. To be fair, they're all listed as doubtful, so they might still play, but as things stand, it's pretty unclear. Again, for me, this is a game where I can only really see it being settled by one goal. Both of these sides have been scoring and concealing quite freely off it at the moment. So for me, this is a 3-2 one way, 3-2 the other way, 2-2 draw, 3-3 draw, something along those lines. But I'm going to go for the home team here. I'm going to go for a 3-2 victory to FC Twente. Next up, we have Ferencvaros taking on Malmo, and I've seen a few comments regarding Ferencvaros over the course of the last few videos, so hopefully I can please some of those fans here, because going into this one, this is probably the easiest fixture of the night to call, outside of potentially the next one to talk about as well. Ferencvaros are unbeaten in all of their last 7, including winning on match days 3 and 4, whereas Malmo sit 14 places behind their opponents here, with just 1 win in 4 so far in this competition, and only 2 wins in their last 7 in all competitions. Not only that, Malmo are facing quite an injury crisis themselves at the moment. They're struggling for form, they're struggling for player fitness. Ferencvaros are fully fit and raring to go. The Hungarians are also at home. So for me, this is a pretty comfortable win for Ferencvaros. I'm going for 3-0 to them. Speaking of what I hope is a very easy game to call, we now have my club, Manchester United, taking on Bodo Glimt. Ruben Amorim's first taste of European football as Manchester United head coach. We do go into this on a 5-game unbeaten run ourselves, whereas Bodo have only 1 win in their last 5, which was at the weekend. And they go into this actually above Manchester United in the Europa League table, which is rather embarrassing to say as a Manchester United fan. As we already mentioned, Bodo did lose on match day 4 at home to Qarabag. So now travelling to Old Trafford, you'd have to expect them to lose. Manchester United do still have a few injury problems, but they're starting to bring players back. There's a lot of rumours suggesting Lenny Yoro could make his debut for Manchester United in this match. Lisandro Martinez could be back for this one as well. So realistically, United should win this one pretty easily, but I'm not going to say it's too convincing yet as we try and get used to Ruben Amorim's 3-4-3 system. I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Manchester United and hope it's going to be a hell of a lot more. 4 games to go then, and the first of those sees Nice taking on Rangers. 31st place in the table so far at Nice. They've not got a single win in the Europa League thus far, whereas Rangers sit 10th place on 7 points. Nice also have some concerns. They have Diop and Bombito suspended for this one, along with a fair few injuries, whereas Rangers' only real first-team injury concern is to Matondo. That said, they drew with Olympiacos on match day 4, as we've already spoken about, and at the weekend they drew at home to Dundee, which is really quite a poor performance from them. Then when you consider that the injury problems for Nice haven't actually stopped them from going on a 5-game unbeaten run, I'd be very surprised to see Rangers get the win here. I do think a draw is a very, very strong possibility, but I just think that Nice might edge this one. I know, yet again, I'm going against the Scottish sides. I have given Celtic the win in tonight's Champions League game, but I'm going for a Rangers defeat in this one. I'm going for a 1-0 victory to the French side. Next up, we have a side who, quite frankly, I don't really know where to place them at the moment. We have Real Sociedad, who lost in their last match in the Europa League to Victoria Plzen, then went and beat Barcelona in La Liga, but then were beaten by Bilbao at the weekend as well. They also have their Euro goal-scoring hero, Oyarzabal, injured for this one, whereas Ajax are absolutely flying. They are 16 games unbeaten. They've won 13 of those 16. They only have one real sort of suspension to worry about. That is to Taylor. They do have a few other injuries, but again, it's not affected their incredible run of form. To be honest, I think a Sociedad win might actually be the least likely scoreline here, which, if you'd have given me this fixture on match day 1, I'd have been pretty certain of a Real Sociedad win. But their form is just so inconsistent that the most reliable scoreline to go for here is an Ajax win. So that is what I'm going for. I'm going for 2-1 to Ajax, which may surprise a few, but I have to go with what I'm looking at. And for me, right now, Sociedad are just not a team you can bank on at the moment. 2 games to go then, and we have Slavia Prague taking on Fenerbahce here. Both of these sides are currently in playoff spots, and they are 2 sides that both actually lost on match day 4. For Jose Mourinho, sadly, there will be no Cristiano Ronaldo for Fenerbahce, as he joked about in his press conference the other day. However, he will have another veteran from Manchester available to him. Edin Dzeko is expected to lead the line once again. For Slavia, they are going to be missing some key players for this one, but they are unbeaten at home all season long and have also beaten Fenerbahce on the last 2 occasions in matches that only took place 2 years ago. On both occasions then, it was a 3-2 victory to Slavia Prague, both home and away, and that is the exact same scoreline I'm going to go for here. I'm going to go for a 3-2 victory to Slavia Prague, making it 3 3-2 victories in a row for them over Fenerbahce. And then finally, it is Tottenham Hotspur taking on AS Roma. Spurs come into this off of that unbelievable 4-0 victory over Manchester City. And then obviously City last night blew it 3-0 against Feyenoord to 3-3. For Roma, of course, they are now in their 3rd manager of the season. Dilly ding, dilly dong, Claudio Ranieri is back in football and he is in charge of Roma now. But he was unable to stop them from losing yet another game at the weekend. So it's really not going well for Roma at the moment. Yes, Spurs were completely outplayed by Galatasaray in their previous match day. But like I say, off the back of that Manchester City game, surely they're going to come through with a big performance against a really out-of-form Roma side here. I'm going to go for a Spurs victory. I'm going for a 2-0 victory. Once again, both English clubs, I'm going for a 2-0 victory today. And that is going to conclude today's video and this week's European coverage on this channel. Thank you so much for watching and listening as always. Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. I will of course be back tomorrow evening with my reaction to the Manchester United Bodo Glimt game, no matter how it goes. And then Premier League predictions will be back again on Friday morning. Thank you very much for watching once again. I'll see you very soon.